This is a question on money multiplier. Okay, so here again, I don't want to assume that you already know the idea of what money multiplier is, but I want to think it in another way. Let us just take the basic terms given in the question, and let us just try to interpret just the meanings of these terms, and let us see whether we can arrive at an answer. If we are able to arrive at an answer just going from the basic English meanings of these words, I think that's a useful tool you can have with you, right? And so basic understanding of some English words and in being informing that with some amount of logic, if that takes you to the right answer, then I think it's a pretty valid method you can have while doing UPSC. In fact, I guess you'll have to do this a lot in the actual exam hall. So the question is, the money multiplier in an economy increases with which one of the following? Okay, so none of us knows what money multiplier is. Okay, that is the basic assumption we want to have at this point. So let us have a cursory look at the options. Okay, so first one is about cash reserve ratio. Second is about banking habit of the population. Then they are speaking about statutory liquidity. Then they are speaking about population of the country. So if you have had some understanding of some of the money banking ideas, you know that all of these terms pertains to the banking system in the country. Okay, so that is one thing we can conclude. Where will I write? Okay, this pertains to the banking system. So the question pertains to the banking system. That is a basic information, we can take it from there, right? So next thing, the term is money multiplier, right? Money multiplier. Okay, so we know what money is, we know what multiplying something is, right? Okay, so with that, let us look into the question. So I hope you know what cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio are. I think that would be a basic understanding you should have, because without having that knowledge, I think it would be kind of difficult to move forward. So assuming you know what cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio is pakka, or even otherwise, you know, you would have to know that this cash reserve ratio and SLR are something banks have to maintain either in their own deposits or with RBI, so that they can so that the banking operations in the country is not destabilized. They don't do reckless lending beyond their own capabilities. Okay, just have that basic information. CRR and SLR are a safety mechanism that our monetary system has built in. Okay, just have that information. So we know that okay, how will we go about now? Okay, maybe we'll think about the terms money multiplier. Okay, so the fact is money has to multiply. Money has to multiply in a banking context. Okay, so in a banking context, what is the role of money? Broadly speaking, Indian banks particularly, the main role of money is in giving out credit or loans or advances as we speak of it, right? So that is the main purpose of banks in Indian context, at least so far. Maybe in European or American banks, you have so much of investment banking, hedge fund management, and all those kind of functions into banking activity. But in India, majorly speaking, banks do with lending out loans or credit. Okay, so money multiplying in a banking context in Indian scenario. So maybe you could think that, see, I am not saying that these are ideas you can just pull out from the vacuum. Okay, that's not the idea. We are not doing a magic here. Okay, I still assume that you would have heard these words, some of these banking sense. You have some intuition about what banks does. Okay, so as a grown-up person, I guess all of us have some intuition about what banks does. It's from there we are trying to build this logic. Okay, so money multiplying in a banking context. So will increase. So what are the banks dealing with? Like we said before, okay, they take in deposits. Sorry, you can see that, right? Okay, they take in deposits. They give out loans. Okay, these are the two functions that banks do, right? So out of these two functions, do we think that taking more and more deposits would lead to multiplying of money? So I think this money multiplier has to be interpreted as maybe more amount of and moreover, yeah, money multiplier in an economy. It's not money multiplier of an individual. It's about money multiplier in an economy. So I think it's fairly reasonable to conclude that they are hinting at the amount of money that would be made available for lending, right? Can it be thought in that way? So maybe something is happening somewhere, and by virtue of that, a whole lot of money becomes available to lending for in the economy. Okay, maybe this was we do a one single operation here, so this lead to 5 times lending operation. So this would be the 5 would be the money multiplier. Can we think of that? Is that a reasonable logic which all of you can do? Okay, maybe I think this is something. So this we are fairly in a position to conclude that this is about advancing credit in an economy. Okay, so we are thinking about doing something somewhere which result in increasing availability of credit in the economy. Right, so these are two basic things we are dabbling with at this point. Now let us see the options. Increase in the cash reserve ratio. Okay, so let us apply those ideas of money multiplier which we have kind of explored into the context of this question or the statements given in the question. So first statement is increase. Okay, money multiplier in an economy increases with which of the following? So when any of these increases, will money multiplier increase? That is the question being asked. So increase in the cash reserve ratio. Okay, so by now our logic is that money multiplier, which we would signify as MM maybe, it has to increase. It has to increase with what? So far our logic is that more amount of money available in the market, right? How will you write? Increase of credit. Credit in the economy increases, or maybe money available for advancing credits in the economy increases. That is the idea. So money available for advancing credit increases, money multiplier increases. So these both are directly proportional. These both go together. Okay, so that is the idea we need to have at this point. So the first statement is increase in cash reserve ratio. So cash reserve ratio, like I said, it is to impart stability to the banking system. So maybe another way to put that is, for example, maybe banks have 10 rupees, or maybe we'll think of a more realistic amount. A bank has 1 crore rupees with it. Okay, so maybe it can give all the 1 crore with it. That is one way. Maybe what will they do? They have a deposit of 1 crore, or maybe in another way, how will you put it? Okay. Okay, see, this cash reserve ratio thing, like I said, it's to bring stability to the banking system. It is to ensure that banks don't give out credits, or they don't do a lending activity much beyond their carrying capacity, which means the more the amount of cash reserve ratio, the less would be the amount of money available for banks to lend, right? Because we don't want banks to be too adventurous in lending, because it might create so much vulnerability to the bank. It might be create some kind of bubbles happening and may lead to some kind of a recession like we had in the US with subprime lending. So more the cash reserve ratio, less is the amount of money available. So first option, if you look at CRR is going up, means this thing should go down. So maybe I'll write it here. Okay, CRR going up means this money available for credit should come down. That is a logic. So increase in the banking habit of the population. So does that have any relevance to money multiplier, or maybe the availability of credit in the economy, or ability of the banks to give credit in the economy? Do it see some connection with banking habit of the population? Does the people's behavior in terms of banking can have any impact? That is one way we can think about it. Another way you can think about it, what was this big fuss about about financial inclusion we have been doing for past 10 to 12 years. Okay, we have n number of schemes, the Jan Dhan Yojana, this and that. This was started way back in the initial years of second UPA, if I remember correctly. So what was this big fuss about? So was it all about giving formal banking system, giving the poor people an access to formal banking? Was that the only objective? No, we want more people into the formal system because we want more savings to happen in this country. We want banks to receive more deposit eventually, because that is only then banks can give out more money. Right, they can loan more money out. So that is a kind of cycle that works when it comes to the banking system. So increase in the banking habit of the population means people would use formal banking system more. They would take loans from banks. That would be the first thing they would be doing. First of all, they would be using banks only for taking out loans, but eventually seeing the benefit of it in comparison to the money lenders in the market, they would see that, okay, associating with the formal banking system is much better. So eventually they might start some deposit schemes in the banks, right? So currently, maybe assume a situation where earlier only 20% of the society had a banking access. Now it increased to 80%. 80% means out of this 60% population increase, maybe at least 20 to 25 would at least start depositing in the banks, right? That means banks are going to sit over a lot of cash, right, which they can give out in the market. So increase in the banking habit of the population is definitely going to increase the credit supply, or associated with that the logic of money multiplier. Money multiplier should increase with increase in banking habit. That is all right. Let us think about increase in statutory liquidity. So it is same like CRR, more statutory liquidity, less credit availability. Increase in population of the country. So that is also a vital question. So does having more population in the country increases the money multiplier? Okay, it doesn't increases by its own. The increase in population in a country can impact money multiplier only when it becomes what you call a financially transacting public, right? They have to be within the formal banking system. So which brings us to the right answer, which is answer choice B. Okay, so I hope you are in a position, you are kind of convinced with the approach we are trying to do. So we started from a point where we know very little about all these ideas, and we tried to create some logic. We tried to see what is going together and what is going against. Then we took up each options and we just tried to correlate. Okay, so money multiplier increasing means credit should go up. So what are the things in the statement that should help credit to go up? We know that CRR and SLR kinds of pulls credit down, but banking habit can help credit availability in the market to go up. So it has to do something with money multiplier, right? So this is the logic alone part of it. I think this is one way of doing this question, but in order to solve this kind of questions in the examination hall, one thing is you should be really confident about your own logic or your own ability to deduce things. So that is one reason why you want to take up more of these kind of sessions, or maybe work more on your logic and deduction. So as long as you are not confident with your ability to deduce stuff out of nowhere, you won't do this in the actual exam hall, because you would be hesitant, because the self-doubt is one of the biggest thing that pulls most of us down. So if you're not pretty confident about your ability to pull something of this out of a very little information, there are very less chances that you'll do and score good marks in the exam. So I think let this be a chance where you start doing this. You start connecting basic ideas you have. You start to add logic into it, and then you see what is the picture that emerges, and then you correlate with the question or the problem you have in your hand. Okay, so I think that is a template we can have in this program. Okay.